What's going on, guys? Nick Foy here with FoyGolfAcademy.com. In this video, we're going to talk about the different skills you can develop on the putting green. So the first skill we're going to start off talking about is the putter face alignment. Having a square putting face to the contact point. So when you make contact with the golf ball, it starts on the correct line. So what we're talking about here is if we have an intended target line. So let's just say that I am hitting a straight putt here to this hole. We've got a straight line that we could draw coming out of our putter. And I've actually got some dots here on my putter itself that kind of point a straight line, so I know where to aim my putter. So let's just say we had this straight line that extends out of my putter and it goes straight to the hole. So that's going to be our straight line that we're trying to hit putts on. Now we've got the face here, and the face we want to be perpendicular, 90-degree angle to that target line. If we come in to the golf ball with an open face, where the face is turned open, that's going to push putts out to the right. If we come in with a closed face, that's going to pull putts to the left. So having the correct face angle at impact is crucial to starting that ball rolling on a straight line. So a few things we can do for this. We can create a gate here. I've put two golf balls down. They're about one putter head length apart. So this is going to keep my putter straight. So if I don't keep the putter straight, I'm going to bump into these two different golf balls. So now I'm going to go ahead and set a real ball down in front of it. And we're going to go ahead and just make a putting stroke, trying to keep that putter head nice and straight, nice and square through that gate. And if we open the face, close the face, we're going to bump into either side of those golf balls. And that's going to give us feedback that we didn't have a straight face. So I've also set it up another way so you can see face on. So we've got two golf balls here, and then we're just going to move the second one a little tighter so it gives a nice tight path for the putter head to go through. So we're just going to work on making strokes, trying to keep that putting stroke nice and straight, and if we don't, then we're going to accidentally bump into the ball and it's going to move the ball, and that's going to give us that feedback that we didn't keep the putter straight. Alright, so the next putting skill we want to talk about is pace, the pace of the putt. So once you can start hitting the ball square on the putter face and start your putts going straight, next we need to focus on speed control so that the ball rolls the right distance that we're trying to roll it and doesn't go too far if we miss. When we miss those putts, we want to make sure we have short tap-in putts for our second putt. If we don't have a short tap-in putt, we're going to end up three-putting at a higher percentage, and this is going to add extra strokes to our golf score, which is what we don't want. So to figure out pace of putting, this is where we need to spend some time on the practice greens before we start a golf round. When we get to that practice green, find some long distance putts. I typically like to measure out 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet, 50 feet. So 4 different putts there that I can set some balls down and just start hitting some different putts from these distances to kind of get a feel for how fast the ball is rolling across the green. And you're going to start to develop that feel by just visually watching the golf ball roll after you make contact with it. So you can get a sense of how hard you thought you putted and then how fast you see that ball rolling, how far it ends up going. So do this drill, just set up 5 balls at 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet, and 50 feet, and start hitting putts from each of these distances, giving yourself feedback each time you hit a putt, thinking, is it going to go short, long, or just right, and then watch the actual result and try to develop that internal feel so that you can start to get better with the putter in your hands, developing just kind of, distance perception and feel on your own. All right, skill number 3 that we want to develop is getting putts to start on the correct line. So a lot of it has to do, again, with the face at impact. If the face is coming through square at impact at a 90-degree angle to our target line that we're trying to start the ball on, that's going to get the ball started off on a straight line. Now, there are instances where we can accidentally push, pull different types of putts and they don't start on the intended line. So how we're going to get feedback for this is we're actually going to set up a spot a few feet ahead of where we're putting the golf ball from. And we're going to try to hit putts to that spot, and if that ball successfully makes it to that spot and goes over it, or if we put a tee in the ground, for example, and we try to putt to a tee, and the ball rolls and hits that tee, that's going to give us feedback that the ball stayed on a straight line after we struck it. So again, a drill for this, we can just take a golf ball, we can measure maybe 3 feet ahead. So I'm just going to set a golf ball down here, and then I'm going to grab my other golf ball and I'm going to line it up here. And then we're gonna get behind the ball, make sure that we're aiming ourselves straight at that ball. So you can even get down and align your ball like you normally would. So we've got a line here, we're just gonna point it straight at the ball ahead. So now that that golf ball is aligned on my target line, I'm just gonna step up and I'm gonna make a straight putt right at that golf ball. So the goal here is to try to hit that golf ball, and that's gonna give me feedback that my putt started straight and stayed straight throughout the initial few feet of the putt. So we're just gonna make a stroke here, and boom, we knocked into that ball. So that tells me my ball started off on its straight line like it was supposed to. Now from there, we're gonna talk about skill number 4, and that's reading greens. So that putt happened to start off straight like we wanted it to, and then eventually, if we're playing for break, that ball's gonna start breaking towards the cup. So skill number 4 is gonna be getting good at reading greens, learning how to see break in greens. And so what we're gonna do here for this, a lot of times when we have a hole that we're trying to go to, so if I'm going all the way over to a hole over here, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kneel down behind my ball. I'm gonna try to get low with the green, and we're gonna look for any sort of undulation. So whether the green's sloping, this way, or we might get some undulation where the green's sloping that way. And we're gonna be able to kind of tell based on getting down low and really looking at the green, how level the green is. If it looks pretty flat, then odds are it's gonna be a straighter putt without much break, so we can play it a little bit tighter to the hole. But if we see that there's gonna be quite a bit of break, maybe moving to the right, then we're gonna wanna set our putt up going to the outside of the cup so that it can account for some of that break down to the cup. All right, in addition to getting behind our golf ball and reading the break, I also like to visually look at my putt and try to trace out where I think the ball is gonna go when I hit it. So I usually get right over the top of my golf ball, take my stance, I'm looking down at my ball, and then I'll start to kind of turn my head and peek at the hole. And as I'm looking at the hole, I'm tracing that line of where I think that ball is gonna roll, and then I watch it and I start seeing it trace into the cup. So by tracing out my putts, this can also give me an idea of if my line on my ball is pointing at the right start line. And if I trace out my putt and I feel like I'm not playing enough break, then I can get back down behind the ball and we can just adjust that break and give it a little bit more. So now we're playing more break, I can set back up, I can test it again, getting behind my ball, looking at the line, seeing it, watching it start to curve and break into the cup. So that's another way I like to visually check my putts. Before I hit them, I get up on top of my ball, bend over the top of it so my eyes are directly above the target line, and we try to look and trace out that putt and watch what's gonna happen to it. So I kind of visualize my putt and how it's gonna perform before I even hit it. And then I step up, I hit that putt, and I watch what it does and see how close I was to actually visualizing a correct putt. So this is gonna give you great feedback, so in the future, we build those green reading skills. The more putts you hit, the more times you take some time to do this setup, you're gonna start to develop feel and you're gonna start to develop from experience so that you can read greens properly in the future. All right, so that's it for this video. Those are the 4 skills that we want to practice when putting. Number 1, getting that putter head to come into the ball at a 90-degree angle to our target line, so making sure the face stays square. Number 2, making sure we're working on the pace of the putt, getting the correct speed so that we can play the break and the ball can roll into the cup and not overpower it or leave it short and have a tough second putt afterwards. And then number 3, we want to make sure the ball starts on the correct line after we hit it. So checking by putting down some tees a couple feet ahead of where we putt from and watching the ball roll into the ball ahead of us, or the tees that we set down so that we know it stayed on a straight line after we hit it. And then number 4, reading the green, getting down behind the ball as well as standing over the top of the ball and visualizing how that putt's gonna break, and then checking our alignment to make sure we're starting the ball on the correct line to play enough break to make sure that it's gonna go into the cup. And we don't wanna leave it on the low side, so always play a little more break than you expect. That way, if you under-read the break, you can correct for this by playing a little bit extra break, and that's gonna make more putts.